Hello, everyone. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be with all of you today. Today, I'm joined by Janine, and she first accepted Islam in 1995 in Morocco and is now 50 years old. She is originally from New Zealand but lives in Australia. Janine works as an English and wellbeing teacher, and her hobbies include personal development, walking and observing nature, and permaculture. She studied education and psychology at university, which was grounded on a lot of theory, and finally discovered a psychological truth in the inside out paradigm. She's also a certified mentor in the Back to the Fitrah Academy. And for those that are new to the program, we recently did do an interview with Sister Catherine Jones, who is the founder of the Back to the Fitrah Academy as well. So without further ado, let us welcome Janine.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. May the peace be with you as well. How are you today?
I'm good, alhamdulillah.
That's good. So without further ado, let's start. So the first question I have is, how did you come to embrace Islam?
So it sort of goes back a long way. You know, when I was 15, I was a searcher for truth. I tried to reach out to the Christian community. I went on camps and tried to find the truth there. When I heard there was a hellfire, that put me right off. So I sort of left that for many years. But I was always searching. I'd visit the Hare Krishnas. I'd just whatever there was, I would be interested. And it seemed like New Zealand was so isolated, and at that time, you know, there were no foreigners there. It was very the only people were there were Japanese people. So, you know, that New Zealanders knows that days would do the overseas experience. So I ended up in Spain. I'd finished studying Spanish, and I went on a trip to Spain. And they said after the month there seemed to me no point in going back. Like I still hadn't found the purpose of life. So I stayed on, and I ended up living in Spain 5 years, and I became quite involved in many groups. I was in feminist groups and peace groups and you know, anti-military marches, environmental, you know, Friends of the Earth, all of this type of activity, because I couldn't settle for what, you know, I knew of this life. So yeah, I met lots of different people, and I ended up meeting a man from the Sahara, and he had been fighting for freedom for the Sahara, and he had this knowledge. He was a Muslim, but he'd sort of stopped practicing. He was burnt out, and he was a refugee, couldn't go back to his home, and yet there was still this deep knowledge that he had. Even, you know, he was drinking and smoking, but I was really curious about this depth of knowledge he had. So I ended up going to Morocco, and I one of the first the turning point for me was I was staying in a place, and they were all, you know, everybody was Muslim, but nobody was practicing. And one practicing sister came, and she prayed in my room. For me, the turning point was actually seeing her in the prostration, submitting to a higher being. I just crumbled. My heart melted, and from there, I think, I'm not sure, I can't remember clearly, but it was the prostration. And then I also met a Englishman, Muhammad Al-Amin, and in that moment, he told me about how Islam was the first civilization that gave money from the rich to the poor. And that concept to me it was like, the sky's blue, this is true. Like, I'd studied sociology and, you know, just seeing what's going on in the world. And it just seemed that Islam had the solution for every single problem the world's facing. You know, like the respect given to women, you know, the level of honor and respect that she deserves as the mother, as the sister, as the wife, you know, the the best man is one who's kindest to his wife. Like, subhanallah, it just had the solution to every single problem that I could see. You know, the rights of water, like it's a human right. No one, if you can't pay for it, then it comes from the, you know, from the charity fund. Like, subhanallah, like the solutions just seemed so clear, so much common sense in Islam. So yeah, that was really, really profound for me. I remember declaring my shahada out the window. And yeah, from there it was just a really gentle journey. The people I were around, they said, you know, slowly, little by little. I learned the translation through the transliteration. So it was very, very gentle journey, and being surrounded by practicing Muslims and having left all my contacts from before. Like, I didn't have people inviting me to the pub, or, you know, I was immersed in this Islamic, you know, pretty much Islamic environment. So it was a beautiful beginning. I always sort of remembered that year as the best year of my life. And I was listening to an interview from Yusuf Islam yesterday, and it just reminded me of, I remember, I think I'm going off track. I'll stop there.
No, that's fine. No, that's a really beautiful story, mashallah. Yeah, so it was so the first year, like normally I always hear a lot of stories that it tends to be one of the hard ones. Like, so it's really amazing to see that for you it was the best year for you. So that's amazing. But like, did you have any challenges when you first accepted Islam, or like, what did you find the hardest for you?
SubhanAllah, because this is all pre 9/11, so this is pre the world knowing about Islam. So like when I didn't even know about the paradise or hellfire until I think like a month later. Like, this awakening came. I was talking about Yusuf Islam because his songs are all about this awakening, and Morning is Broken. And I remember listening to that song, and it was just all this awakening and lightness emanating from me, from inside, because we're all believers innately. We're all born believing in Allah. It's just our environment that, you know, and the thoughts that cover up all of our innate wisdom and connection with Allah. So this awakening, I was sure there was God. I knew there was God. And it wasn't until like a month later when I picked up the Quran and was reading it, and I saw, and Allah, you know, spoke to me through it and said, you know, there's a paradise and there's a hellfire. And I was like, oh. And I just remember that moment, having to, you know, brace myself and hold myself against the wall and not fall over. And then thinking, okay, well, like if I let everybody know, everybody will become Muslim. Like, I'll just tell mum and dad, and, you know, they'll all accept it because this is so common sense. This is just the truth here. And, you know, people don't know. I've got to tell everybody. Yeah, so that was hard, because with all that truth and clarity, and then everybody like just shuts down. It's like these brick walls pop up in between you and your loved ones, and that was hard. That was really hard. Really, really, really hard. And then because after that, you know, that beautiful year in that Muslim environment, going back to New Zealand, and then seeing, you know, so much disbelief, and that was hard. That was one of the hardest years. And it pulled me back into my dark side of myself. Yeah.
And how did you overcome that?
Well, actually, I had 22 years of of sort of being in that world. Okay. It's only 4 years ago I got divorced, and through that really tough time, I connected with Catherine Jones from Back to the Fitrah. I saw a short video she made, and through that short video, my relationship changed with my kids. Like, it was beautiful. It was miraculous. And slowly, I did her peaceful parenting course, and then her inside out paradigm, which just it changed everything for me. It was like the all the weight of the world was taken off my shoulders, and I got to be present in the moment and start to become the author of my life, subhanAllah, rather than a victim or, subhanAllah. It's amazing.
Oh, wow. So speaking about the inside out paradigm, I'm really curious, just for the audience that are not aware, can you please describe what that actually is?
Okay, so it's just like Newton discovered gravity. It's a truth that's always been there. Like, he didn't discover it. I mean, he just sort of articulated it. And that's the same as the psychological truth. It's always been there, and it seems quite simple, that all of our feelings, every single one of them, comes from our thought in the moment, and no place else. And it's a simple truth, and people will be like, oh yeah, I got that. However, it's similar to gravity. Like, the more you get gravity, you might be able to create, a flying object, or, at different levels of understanding it, you can develop differently. So feelings come from your thought in the moment. Yeah, I got that. But 100% of the time, and people will find that wherever they're struggling somewhere in life, it's that they're not seeing that. They're not seeing that their frustration or their anger, extreme emotions, are actually only coming from within. Whatever circumstance we face, it doesn't affect our feelings except via our thinking in the moment. And there's psychologists of 30 years who, when they understand this simple principle, they sort of give up all their, well, they don't give it up, but they sort of leave it to the side, all their 30 years of psychological PhDs and MAs and whatever, number letter after their name. This simple truth has such profound implications that's what they work with, subhanAllah.
Okay.
And that's what's so amazing about it, is that there's nothing actually to do. It's just seeing it, and seeing it more and more frequently until you start to be freed from your circumstances. And recently, one of the sisters who's been doing our program, she said there's people who are naturally like that. Like, they get that, their iman is so strong, and not only their iman, but their understanding of the way their mind works, that they've got so much trust in Allah that no matter what they face, their inner resilience, their inner courage and wisdom just emanates. It just shows up. But for somebody like me, and a lot of other people, we're conditioned to believe that if this happens, I'll be happy, or if that happens, I'll be angry, which it's a mistruth. So this understanding really helps you see that and lose that sort of that lie. And through this journey, like, you see the women that I've been on it with, they've come from really abusive marriages, or that they've got these anxiety issues where they can't even leave their house, and they've just transformed because they are freed from their own oppressive thinking around situations, subhanAllah.
Okay, so how can you just briefly describe, so what sort of thinking do we have to inculcate in order to have that positive psychology? Basically, how do we escape that oppressive psychology where, if we have this, we're happy, or if we have this, we're sad?
So it's just revisiting the truth. It's just revisiting that. I can give you an example. Like, somebody wakes up and there's been an earthquake, and from their own thought in the moment, they might be, oh wow, people are suffering, I need to get up and do something. And another person might get up and say, oh my God, what a mess, what am I going to do? So situations don't create our feeling, it's our thinking around the situation that does. And it seems really simple, and then people might say, oh, but it's how I've been brought up, it's my personality. All of that's just thought. It's all thought. And the more you get to see that, and especially surrounding yourself, like, I don't leave this group, I stay with these sisters because they get it. And it's like Islam, like you like to surround yourself with, practicing people because it rubs off on you. And it's like, I remember going to the doctor because I was not feeling very well, and I was telling her, I've got all these stressful situations, and she said to me like, of course you must be stressed. So she's really infecting me. She's saying, whereas if I'd gone to my sisters, they would have reminded me that no situation, not any situation, can make me feel any way unless I choose that. So it's really empowering, like no matter, and you think about, I used to think like, people in Syria or, undergoing such hardships, and you see them so resilient and so strong. And I would say to myself, I could never be like that. But with this understanding, you get to see you could, like anybody can reach that level of resilience once they understand where their feelings are coming from. SubhanAllah.
Wow, no, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Like, I wish we could just talk just about that. That's so fascinating. Oh my God.
Well, Catherine calls this like the ER of Islam, like it's a resuscitation center, because like there's a lot of knowledge out there, but this simple understanding, it really helps you get grounded. There's a guy he used to teach Quran, but when Mamun Yusuf, subhanAllah, but when he discovered this is what he teaches, because he can see through this understanding, like, and getting that our feelings come from our thought in the moment. You get to be more present in life, and through that, then, your khushu' and salah increases. All those thoughts that sort of contaminate your fitrah, you start to you just let them go. We call it a subtractive psychology, because it just takes thinking off your mind. It's not condoning anything. Like, we don't condone, like, if somebody is rude to us or somebody's doing evil, it's never condoned, but you get to choose who you're going to be in that situation. You're not a victim. You're not impacted by that, and you see that clearer. So he actually teaches this because it's just really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. So with this inside out paradigm, how can this theory help people who have recently embraced Islam?
It's not a theory, because psychology's always been a theory. This is a scientific truth. It's a truth.
Yeah.
Your feelings come from your thinking in the moment and no place else. Like, and if you're not thinking, you're unconscious or you're dead. We're always thinking. Like, we're experiencing life through our thinking in the moment. Everybody's reality is different. Like, we can have, 3 people in the same room experiencing the same thing, but they're all going to experience it differently because they've all got their own unique way of thinking. So how can it help? Well, it can help because, like, especially, like, I remember that first, like I said, told you, that second year after embracing Islam was probably the worst year of my life, because I felt like, okay, this kuffar country, disbelief everywhere, isolation. I've got to feel depressed. I've got to feel sad. I was victim to my circumstances. Oh, my mum doesn't believe. Oh, my dad doesn't believe. Oh, I've got to feel sad, And whereas if I'd known this, it could have freed me up a lot more to be creative and to be resilient. Because I actually teach this at school. We have a program we're bringing into schools, and the first thing we sort of teach the kids is that our fitrah, our innate inner self that God's created us all on. Every single human being has been created with wisdom, inner intuition, our gut feeling, courage, confidence. Like, that's who we are. Kids, when they fall over and they get up again, that's who human beings are. But through life experiences, maybe the child falls over and dad says, "Get up, you silly kid," or something. That kid now has that thought, oh my God, I'm not good enough, So then the thinking starts to take over. So what we teach the kids is innately, we're all like this. Our inner self, we call it spark, is has wisdom, it's resilient, it's courageous, it's creative, and anywhere where we're not being that, it's because of our thinking, nothing else. So, and it's just a discovery, and there's a lot of conditioned thinking that we are trained in, the society, community, and it infects our fitrah. So we get to see that and revisit that, and then the next thing we learn is that that all of these feelings you're experiencing, they're all coming from thought.
Yeah,
they're all coming from thought and no place else. So I get to choose. I can have my siblings doing that. I actually get to choose. It's not the sibling who's annoying me. I can actually sit back and pause for a second and say, well, what can I do? I don't have to react. And because we are all learning that, if people react, you can look at each other and smile and say, hey, that's not him that's causing your feelings, right? That's you own this. This is, and it's so in line with Islam. Like, if Allah says he won't change our condition until we change what's within ourselves. So it's so empowering. It's really empowering because you get to choose who you're going to be in every given moment.
Wow. No, that's amazing. Definitely. So what advice would you give to those that are thinking about converting to Islam?
I think I went off topic. I was just talking in general, but so that, knowing that's definitely going to help as a new Muslim, because if other Muslims, like, what I have experienced is that a lot of Muslims aren't really good role models. The first one definitely was, and that's why I converted to Islam, because of him. But, you meet a lot of Muslims who aren't really practicing or doing the right thing. So that in itself, that doesn't have to make you depressed or lose your love for Islam, because separate realities. And I wanted to sort of round that off, how the standard can help new Muslims, because whatever they're facing from their family, from so-called other practicing Muslims who might criticize them or judge them, this will set them free from that. Like, it empowers them to know, oh wow, they're having some really weird thinking, to judge me like that. That's their thinking that's going on. It's not about me. What makes, so yeah, there's a lot there that can support a new Muslim and all that they might face from from family, friends, Muslims, the society, the laws, the government.
We as people choose how we want to react to it.
Yeah.
Basically, we have the power.
No matter what. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, and then I just wanted to complete that. And what was the second question? What did you say?
The next question after that was, what advice would you give for those that are thinking about accepting Islam?
I would just highly recommend the Back to the Fitrah converts group.
Okay.
Because there's quite a few sisters in there who are have been studying this understanding. And it's just such a safe space, because like I said before, there's a lot of implications from this understanding. Like you just start, all judgments start to drop away. Like, you don't judge people, and that's really, really refreshing. To be in a space where you're not judged, and whatever's on your mind, you can say it, and somebody will help you unravel those thoughts, because everything is just thought, really. And a lot of the time we hold all these thoughts in our own heads and, create distortions and illusions. But when you are in a community where you can speak whatever's on your mind, and then unravel all those thoughts, and you actually get, we used to do partnerships where we would just just share what's on our mind. And when you do that and you take everything out of your head and just share, you actually unravel it yourself. You start to see where your thinking is not quite how it should, where your pitfalls are. And subhanallah.
So just to confirm, so are you saying the Back to the Fitrah Academy can also be used by people who have not necessarily embraced Islam yet? Or is it only for those who have recently embraced it or are Muslim?
I would say, like, if there's interest in Islam, like, welcome, like, you need to find people who know the beauty of Islam. I think sometimes people make it difficult, or then there's a lot of misinformation about Islam. Like, the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there'd be like 72 groups of Muslims, I think, and there's only one that's on the right path. So you've got to be careful of all these different groups. And like, these sisters are all following traditional mainstream Islam. Okay. And Catherine never professes to be a scholar. We always, if there's any question that's beyond us, we go to those who know. SubhanAllah. Yeah.
And also to confirm, so for now, if I'm not mistaken, this is mainly for sisters. This is mainly for women.
Catherine's trying to set up a WhatsApp group for the men, and it'd be great to get men trained in this understanding too. That's a lot of it's a problem that a lot of the women are facing, is they sort of free themselves from this misunderstanding we have around how we experience life, and then there's nowhere for the men to get this. So inshallah, we pray that there'll be more male mentors who can take this on and help our ummah, subhanallah.
Yeah, I hope so. That this is definitely an amazing field, and I feel like it has the ability to just completely change the direction of the Muslim community for the better. And even if you haven't embraced Islam yet, or even if you're just looking into it, the benefits, like just in how you deal with your everyday life, definitely is there. So hopefully we can get that. And last question, just to finish it off, just in general, how can the Back to the Fitrah Academy assist with those who have embraced Islam recently?
Well, for the sisters, there's the inner circle. So there's a 10-week Peaceful Hearts course. And that's amazing. That's part of joining up to the inner circle, which I think it's $49 a month or something. Okay. When I started this, it was a lot more expensive. I think the first program I paid like $700 or something like that. But I've never spent my money on anything better than this. Subhanallah.
Okay.
Subhanallah.
All right, that's amazing.
But the converts group that runs every Saturday, that's free. You can just come along and you start to get an understanding of how things work. And then Catherine also has a free masterclass on a Wednesday as well, which is really awesome.
Okay. And you could basically gain access to this on the website, on the Back to the Fitrah.
Yeah, it's called We're Okay Wednesday. We're Okay Wednesday. Yeah.
All right. No worries. And I hope whoever's interested can definitely check that out. And that is it for today. That's all the questions we had. I hope everyone has a lovely day, and peace and blessings, and may the peace, mercy and blessings of God be with all of you.
Assalamu alaikum.